40 million rand allegedly paid for 90 rammers to fill up potholes. The idea was to use military veterans to try and assist with a problem so many motorists and other road users find a frustration. But also now, allegations are that a sum of 12 million rand was paid into the personal banking account of the CEO of the contractor that was awarded this contract, with an additional 13 million paid for training, but no record of its occurrence nor guidelines to tell us how the people who were selected were chosen. To explain all of that, we're joined by Thabang Makwetla, who is the Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. Thank you for your time this morning and welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Morning, Bogan, and thank you for having us on your program.
No doubt you would have seen the story on Sunday in the City Press. Perhaps you could sketch for us the details of this project, the idea that 90 pothole machines, 10 per province, were purchased in 2021. How was the project initiated? What exactly happened?
Maybe I should thank you very much, Bongan. Let me start first by just making the point that the context to this irregularity we are talking about is that the department for some time has had numerous managerial challenges. And among those challenges was the absence for prolonged periods of a DG, a Director General in the department. And also senior managerial levels that were not sufficiently populated. And as a result, there was a continuing irregular practices within the department. And this anomaly around how this procurement of machines to maintain roads happened is one of the problems that the department has encountered.
May I come in there, Deputy Minister, because as I understand it, there was in fact a Director General in the department when these contracts were approved. Irene Mpolweni has been suspended. This is as a result of an investigation, but her signature is on the contracts that approved this purchase, this acquisition. So it wasn't that there was no Director General, as I understand it. Am I wrong?
No, what I'm saying is that the situation has been deteriorating within the Department of Military Veterans previously because we did not have a DG. And the appointment of a DG to us in the ministry was a huge relief. And we were looking forward to improvements in the way the department was managed and led. However, the situation has gone worse. And let me just speak directly to this particular project, that the idea actually came from the DG herself shortly after she was appointed in 2021. And when she said to us that she wants to involve military veterans in road maintenance because she's going to take advantage of her a relationship with Sandra that she had built before from where she was working as the head of roads and transport in the Eastern Cape. And so what is interesting is that we did not actually object to the idea. We supported her idea and asked her to come with a blueprint of the project to give us an indication primarily to say how, for instance, were these military veterans in the province going to participate in the province, what kind of business enterprises were going to be set up in the provinces for them, but also importantly, how were contracts going to be secured with the different spheres of government, municipalities, provinces, and nationally central to have these work done.
And
But
did
all
her
of
did
that
her
was
explanations satisfy you? Because even as I'm listening to you now, my understanding is that there were 90 machines to be bought, 10 per province. So at most, I would imagine then you were looking, because 900 veterans were selected, you were going to have about 100 people working on this project per province if the numbers add up. Does that make sense?
No, let me just give me a little moment to just provide further details on this, then we can discuss it. What I'm saying is that that blueprint of the project that we asked the DG to come up with was never provided. And what we then later on had was that equipment was bought by the department for about 38 million, which was never reported to the ministry. We were not aware of that amount of expenditure that was incurred by the department on a project of this nature. And it made us very anxious, and that's why my office insisted that we want to see the machines that were delivered for the project. And there was actually no machine that we could be taken to go and see. And it was only after our insistence, about 3 weeks later, that we were taken to Roodepoort, where we were told that the machines are kept. And when we got to Roodepoort, we found these machines at a vendor, at a company that sold these machines to the department. We are told, yes, there were 90 units of these machines, but the machines were never delivered to the Department of Military Veterans. They were still where they were bought from. And when we inquired how are they now presented as assets of the department when they are still with the vendor, we were told that no, they have actually been tagged as assets on the asset register of the department. They've been included on the asset register of the department and they have been tagged. But what was interesting is that no one, not the DG nor any official in the department from the branch that is responsible for stakeholder management and empowerment was in attendance. Only the acting CFO was in attendance. And it was clear that the explanation by the owners of the company was not in all aspects aligned to what we were told by the department to be the case. So what I'm saying is that the machines were there, but were never delivered to the department. But
right.
Secondly, we were told that these machines were not usable without additional other complementary units were bought in order to make the ones that were bought usable. And to have them...
Deputy Minister, I must come in here because the picture that you are painting here is obviously that as the department, you were almost catching up to this information, and it raises the question for me around the systems for a tender like this, a project like this. In other words, what were the measures to prevent things going wrong with this kind of money being spent? 38 million rand is your figure to not account for the delivery of the machines. I mean, we can start at even how this tender was issued. It was closed at 1 p.m. on the morning of issue on an urgent basis. How come something like that can happen in this department?
Indeed, there are very glaring irregularities around the project. And all of the things that were happening at the time, there were no reports. There was no information coming through to the ministry about this. The whole procurement process, the way it was undertaken, there is no visibility on our side if there was adherence to supply chain rules. The DG indicated to us that the machines were procured through a transversal tender that is held by Treasury. And it did not make sense to us that goods of that nature would be procured through a tender that Treasury is holding. But not only that, when we arrived at the company where these machines were kept, there was a person who introduced himself as the middleman, the company that actually bought the machines for the department, which was not in keeping with the story that we were told by the DG. So what I'm saying is that there was no evidence that any of the decisions taken around this initiative was done according to the rules.
All right.
And yes.
So even at the stage of the project being proposed, the department was okay with this very heavy equipment that was going to be operated by, I would, kindly say, by people who are fairly senior in age, because if we're thinking about military veterans, we're talking about people who are last in combat 30 years ago?
Indeed, that has been a concern to us, not only in relation
But we said go ahead anyway?
No, there was no go-ahead given to the DG to procure this machinery because we wanted to have first a blueprint of the project to understand how this was going to be organized for, and that was never provided. And from there, we never had anything about this idea until we got to know that there is equipment bought for that amount of money, which equipment we also did not even know where it was.
All right.
That's why we insisted that we want to see the equipment, only to find that the equipment was not even delivered to the Department of Military Veterans, as I'm explaining.
It sounds like big swindle, Ms. Deputy Minister. It sounds like a big swindle against the department. Indeed. Has anyone been charged?
Indeed, it is among the issues that we are investigating now, and that's what led partly to the precautionary suspension of the DG in order to get this inquiry to be undertaken by the ministry without any interference.
But surely also, 38 million rand is spent from of the department's money without following the proper procurement procedures. All of the things you were promised up front, you say never happened. And no one is charged at this point officially?
As I am saying, the DG is on precautionary suspension because we are conducting an investigation in order to put this information to her and to get her to explain to the ministry how this happened, and the consequence measures will then follow after that kind of process has been entertained within the department. But let me say that the details that are coming out from the media are actually very scary, among which is the information that suggests that machinery is actually no longer there where we were, where I went to go and see it, where I was taken to, and it is what we do not know. We were not even aware that the equipment is not there. What happened to the equipment, no one can account to us about that. But these are the issues that these are the details that need to be investigated in order to have this matter dealt with.
We'll keep an eye on this story. I appreciate your time, Thabang Makwetla, the Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. There's a lot that seems unknown or unclear to the department, which begs the question, as I've been asking, why aren't the police involved in this? Why aren't the people whose speciality is to do criminal investigations? And what is it about the department's systems that could allow this kind of spend to be undertaken without any controls, without anyone flagging this project? It leaves more questions than answers, but we'll keep an eye on that story because, as you've just heard, the Deputy Minister says there are ongoing investigations.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.